All right, so welcome. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm glad you have because there are a lot of new things this year, and we want your first tournament to go as smoothly as possible. So, a couple housekeeping things. If you have questions that occur to you in the midst of the presentation, feel free to add those to the chat, and we will touch on those as soon as we have a moment. I am Chris Simonson, and I am the First Tech Challenge Program Coordinator for High Tech Kids. We also have Cheryl Muller from High Tech Kids who is on the call as well. So, welcome. Thank you for coaching. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy lives to tune into this. So, we'll get started right away here. Let me make sure I'm on. All right. So, thank you for coaching. We really appreciate it. None of this could happen. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you taking the time to coach and mentor these students. Quick thank you to our sponsors for High Tech Kids and FTC events in Minnesota. They are really wonderful, and they really allow us to put on these events and to have great competitions. Couldn't do it without them. So the first thing I want to bring your attention to is on our website, every event has its own page. And this page is really an important place for you to know about. And you can find it under the qualifier play schedule, and then there'll be a link to your tournament once you're on that page. A few things to highlight on here, and links will continue to populate on this page as we get closer and closer to the event. So, for example, this coach call will be linked on this page. The general event schedule will show up, and then the judging and inspection schedule is an important thing for your team to know about, and you can see it ahead of time. We usually post it about 3 or so days ahead of time. Once we know that we are pretty sure we're not going to have teams that are going to cancel on us or teams that are going to get added at the last minute, we'll post that judging and inspection schedule. And that's going to be your team's schedule for the morning, what order they're going to do things in, what time they show up at things. One of the things to know about that schedule is the judging is the most important part on that. You can't be late to judging. If for some reason your team is running late getting to the tournament and you're scheduled for the first judging session, please contact me as soon as possible and let me know so that we can try to rearrange things and maybe get you in at the end if we absolutely have to. But it's very challenging for us to change that judging schedule. Whereas inspection, if there's nobody at the inspection station at the time, you can go to inspection at any point in time. One of the other things I really want to point out on this page is a lot of the tournaments have a lunch order form, and both of the Prior Lake tournaments have a lunch order form. So please check that out. This year they're doing different due dates for it. So the first date is the cheapest to order your lunches by, and that is by the 16th. And then it gets a little more expensive as, a couple days pass, and then the 20th is the very last day you can pre-order the lunches. So they've got pizza lunches and a pizza lunch deal for you. Right. So check that out before the 16th shows up so that you can get your orders in. The other thing that is linked on this page is our event submission deadline and procedures page. And I'm going to go over that in a little more detail in a bit. All right. So under our demographic stuff on there's another way to get at it on our website. If you're not on the tournament page, you can just click required forms. And one of the things that is required is that you fill out a demographic survey. So this is really important for us because this is information that we need in order to apply for grants and to keep our sponsors informed of what we're doing. And those sponsors are really necessary to help us keep team fees as low as possible. This form is also how we're going to determine how many pins, season pins, your team receives. One thing that's new this year, in the past, we've just had these forms due the Monday before your first tournament. This year, though, we're collecting all of these forms by November 15th. So if you are competing on the 23rd or the 24th, or you're competing in December or January, it doesn't matter. Everybody needs to have those forms in by November 15th, please. And then you just need to submit it once for your first tournament, but you do need to submit one form for each team that you have. So don't, if you have 3 teams, don't just put them all on one form, please. The other thing that is required is that we need you to invite students to your team using the first website. So on your first Inspires dashboard, you will see under team contacts, you'll see a bar that'll light up if you can invite team members if you're one of the administrators or the lead coach. I'm not the lead coach on any teams anymore, so mine doesn't light up in lovely blue. But we recommend using the express enrollment to make it really easy to sign up team members. It allows you to generate just a QR code or a link, and then you can push that out to each of your the parents for your team members. If you have more than one team, you need a unique link for each team. If absolutely necessary, if you have a team that has students who can't access things online, you can give them print out a paper copy for their parents to fill out and sign. And then you can provide that to us. We don't need you to print out every consent and release for every student that you've done, but if they are a student that's not able to do it electronically, please do provide a paper form for us. Now, this is key. You need to print out a copy of your roster. So a button will light up once you have team members. Once all your team members have signed up, then press this button up by number 2 and go ahead and print a copy. We just need you to bring that printed copy to your very first event. You don't need to bring it to subsequent events. We keep track of which ones we've collected. We do not accept electronic versions of this roster, so please, please, please print it out. We also do not accept handwritten rosters. They need to be printed from the first dashboard.
Chris, we had a question. Someone was saying that they did
The other thing to be thinking about before your tournament is whether your team is going to submit a video for one of the video awards. Now, I know First has gotten rid of the Promote Award, and they've made the Compass Award officially through First only at regional championships. However, in Minnesota, we are continuing to do these 2 video awards because we have a lot of participation in Minnesota, and we think it's a really important option to offer to kids because some kids, this is their jam. This is what they love to do. So we have the Minnesota Gear Up Award, which is replacing the Promote Award, and has a different prompt. Information is available on our website, but the prompt is "Our team promotes inclusion by." And the Compass video continues to match the same description that First has in terms of honoring a mentor or coach, nominating a mentor or coach. Both videos should be 40 to 60 second time limit. Ignore Vicky's email went out today and just had a little typo in it. It is seconds, not minutes. The form, once you've filled out the team information on the first page, there will be a spot to say accept, meaning that we can use the material in your video for other promotions within High Tech Kids. But then you can upload the videos. One of the things I'd like to point out, it really makes things run a lot smoother on our end if your team names the file according to this file format. So for the Compass video, it can be the team number underscore, put the award name, which is Compass, underscore, and then the mentor's name. That just makes it really easy for us to send the videos to our panel of judges and have them know which team it is without having opened it. If for the Minnesota Gear Up video, please do team number underscore Minnesota promote. That's just how we didn't know what we were going to name it back when I made the form. So just go ahead and give it that title. It'll make it so much smoother for us. Okay, a couple changes to be
Give an
aware of. You may,
example.
some of the longtime people may have noticed that video and audio recording is no longer allowed in the judging rooms per the competition manual. In Minnesota, we are going to go with that at this point in time. However, we are going to continue to allow spectators into the room if we leave it up to the judges a little bit, and some of the rooms may be a little bit limited. And a team doesn't have to have spectators for sure. If they prefer to not have spectators, that's great. But we are still going to allow spectators.
Shoot.
So yeah, Paul had a question about the lunches. Yep, it's ordered by the team. And there will be additional food and concessions that are available. But if you want to guarantee it's ordering, your team is going to place the order. So it makes it easier. Okay, so Stephanie, Stephanie had a question about, she had problems with the express enrollment. Her team members are not coming up in the dashboard. And so Stephanie, let's touch base after the meeting, at the end of the meeting. That would be great. And I can help you out with that. So, and then, yeah, so if we had Paul's asking if I can give an example of a file name for each award. So let's say the team is 1234. So you just write 1234 underscore MN promote or underscore Compass underscore Paul Huselkamp. Moving onward to our other changes that have come up this year. So as most of you have probably, hopefully seen at this point with the portfolio, the engineering portfolio is only required for some of the judged awards. It's required for the Think Award and the Control Award, and by default, the Inspire Award, because you have to be nominated for Think Award in order to be considered for Inspire. So it's still the 15-page summary plus a cover page. And not much else has changed about the rules other than the fact that the Control Award separate submission is no longer necessary. Any Control Award materials or information should be incorporated into the engineering portfolio. So if your team is submitting an engineering portfolio, please provide one paper copy to the judges right when the morning interview begins. And we highly recommend having a second copy for your pit area for the afternoon judges that come through, just as a reference. Okay, general tournament schedule. The exact tournament schedules will be published on the individual tournament sites, but the general schedule is this as it follows. So please, we really are trying to get things set up in the morning, so we prefer teams not to try to enter before 7:20. It gives us time to make sure everything's ready for you. But then our inspections and judging will begin at 8 o'clock. And practice rounds generally are at 10, and we try to hold the opening ceremonies right at 11. Now with Prior Lake, if you're coming on Saturday, our lunch break is a little bit earlier just because there's also the FRC teams there for the off-season scrimmage, and we have First Lego League teams and we have First Lego League Explorer teams. So there's a lot happening. So we just shift that break, that lunch break a little bit forward on Saturday, but on Sunday we'll follow the normal noon to 1 for lunch. We're hoping to be doing alliance selections. Once we get to that alliance selection point, that really depends on how smoothly the qualification matches have run and whether we get delayed a little bit. Sometimes that alliance selection starts a little bit later than that. Now, one of the things this year is we are going to incorporate the awards into the playoff time period. So we will begin our awards after playoff round 4. So for teams, sometimes teams aren't sure what they should be bringing to what different sessions. So for the judging session, if you have an engineering portfolio, make sure they bring it along and bring the robot. That the judges really want to see your robot, and it makes it so much easier for you to explain what you've been doing. You have the option to do a 5-minute team presentation about your season. You don't have to have that, but I always would tell my teams that it's better to have a presentation because then you at least control the conversation for 5 minutes of the time before the judges start asking questions and can go in different directions. So it's your time for the team to really distill down what's most important to them. What do they want to make sure the judges know about them? And practice that presentation. It really helps. Students don't have to have it memorized or anything. That's not a requirement. But it really helps them feel more comfortable and get through the material in their presentation if they've had a chance to practice it in front of people. So, start by practicing in front of each other and coaches and whatever, but then invite parents to come and see, or invite, if you have more than one team, have them listen in and give feedback. The robot and field inspection, that happens in the arena. And when you come to that, make sure you bring your robot and your driver console, and including your hub and stuff. Make sure this year you also have all 4 of your robot signs. So you need to have 2 red and 2 blue, and those should come along with you to inspection. And also the other thing that's new with inspection this year is that you will not only be having the robot measured with the 18 by 18 by 18 inch box, but you're also going to lay your robot on a 20 inch by 42 inch mat. And you're going to show the inspectors that your robot meets the requirements for the horizontal expansion limits this year. Remember that inspectors are not looking for a way to disqualify robots. They're just making sure that robots are following the rules and that they're also safe and reliable. So we're going to work with you to help get your robot to pass inspection, but it sometimes, especially for these first tournaments of the year, might take a couple re-inspections. There might be things that you need to fix before they can pass your robot. And if you're really running into trouble, or you end up at a tournament and you just feel like it's hopeless that you're not going to have a robot running, please, please, please reach out to the field supervisor, reach out to me, reach out to the head referee, the FTAs, whomever, and we will help either assign one of our volunteers to help you, or find a veteran team that has somebody who can help you. Our goal is that every robot that comes to the tournament is going to be able to compete. So reach out for help if you need it. Couple things to expect of the teams, or kind of knowing what are the judges looking for when they're in that morning interview. They want to hear about all the team strategies, both their technical strategies with how they designed and planned the robot, for this year's game to the non-technical things. How did they recruit people? How did they reach out to do outreach or get experts to come in, find mentors? Knowing what the team's goals are and things for the season, how did they plan? What kinds of calendars did they use? How did they communicate with each other? All of those types of things are things that the judges would love to hear about. If you're using autonomous mode or using sensors, be prepared to share that information as well. We have a special local award, the Stratasys Award, which is for 3D printed parts that were fabricated by the team or, sent out for fabrication, but the team designed them. So be prepared to talk about those. Discussing those would make you eligible to be considered for the Stratasys Award. And remind your team that failures are a super important part of the team's growth and journey. So the judges love hearing about that and how they overcame those challenges. And just another reminder to bring a printed copy of that engineering portfolio. So after we have had our judging, our morning judging and things, we're going to have a driver's meeting. Please send your drive team members to meet with the referees when you hear the announcements for that. And the head referee and the field supervisor are both going to give a little talk about, information about where we're going to be queuing, how the matches are going to run, any rule updates that teams might have missed, common violations to watch out for. All of those types of things. And at the end of that meeting, the match schedule will be distributed. So make sure your drive team attends. There'll be some, information and reminders for human players as well. So if you have people who are going to be a human player at some point, it's helpful for them to listen in on that driver's meeting. Our match schedules generally do not have times on them, just the order of the matches. So make sure that your team comes up with a strategy for keeping track of what match is currently running so that you can be on time for your match. Usually the way we work, most of our tournaments, both our November tournaments will have 2 fields. And so there'll be a team playing and then another team will have queued up, and they'll be moving out to the second field to get set up. So as soon as the match on field 1 is done, we can transition to field 2 and get that match started right away. That really helps keep things moving. Now, pit judging is going to occur during the qualification match play. So groups of judges will be visiting teams in their pit area to ask follow-up questions. And know that your match play takes priority. So if you have a match coming up and you need to go and queue, just let the judges know and they'll come back later. We give them access to the schedule as well. So they usually will try to, look for a team when they think they're going to be available. But you do need to make sure that when you're not competing, you have team members available in the pits who can talk to the judges. If for some reason, say your programmer, you've got somebody who's really good at explaining the programming, and a judge group comes around to ask about your programming, and that person isn't there, let the judges know and let them know when you expect them to be back so that they can get a chance to get the best information possible from your team. All right. So another change is the award ceremony, as I mentioned. So we are going to begin after round 4 of the playoffs. We will begin, and during the 15-minute break that happens while teams set up for round 5, we will start and do the local awards. So we'll be doing the video awards, we'll be doing the Stratasys Award. And we're not going to do a high five line still, but teams are going to come down to accept their award on the field. And it can either be your whole team or it can be, 1 or more team representatives. So if your team is still competing in playoffs, right, you may not have the whole team available to come down and get the award, but you can send a couple people down to accept that award. One of the other changes is that second and third place Inspire will now receive a trophy. We didn't used to have that during qualification tournaments, only during state, but now they will receive a trophy. And then we try to have the results available on the first site by the next day. So our state championship is going to be at Burnsville High School this year, and it will be Friday, February 14th. It'll start in the evening again, like we have in the past, and then it'll be all day Saturday, the 15th. And from the prior lake, each of the prior lake tournaments, we will be advancing 6 teams. That's a little higher than in the past because we've increased the size of our state championship from 48 teams to 56 teams. So we have some extra slots available. All right, some other things that you should be aware of. Dean's List Award is through the first site, not through us per se. But the nominations are due December 15th. It doesn't matter what your tournament schedule is or anything. All of those nominations are due December 15th. A coach can nominate up to 2 11th or 12th grade students from their team. And all of these nominees, we call them semifinalists, are going to be interviewed usually the last week or so of January. We will have a separate judging event, and we will have the option again for both in-person interviews or virtual interviews especially for our Greater Minnesota students. I know that those make a huge difference. And then we will choose the finalists and announce them at the state championship. And then those finalists will represent Minnesota at the World Championships in Houston in April. All right. So just to remind coaches that we do have a Purple Gear Award, which is an outreach award. This is something that you can apply for at any point in the season, as long as it's before our state championship. And I've already received 2 applications this year, so our website has the application open. And you have to have participated, teams that have volunteered at 3 High Tech Kids events and have volunteered or organized or participated in 3 outreach events in their community. And if your team is maybe short of some high-tech kids events, know that one of the things that counts toward that is if you have a certain number of your team members volunteer as a general volunteer at one of our tournaments. Well, you could also have some of them sign up for being an MC and things like that as well. But those things can count toward the outreach. And this is an accomplishment that you can add into your portfolio or engineering notebook as well, and you'll receive a certificate and also a 3D printed trophy. I review these applications usually by about Monday or Tuesday of the week of a tournament. And then anybody that has qualified since the last tournament, I will present that certificate and trophy to you at the tournament. So if you turn it in on Thursday or Friday of that, before the week of your tournament, I probably won't have things ready for you. So just be aware of that. The sooner the better. All right. Also, please make your team members aware of, for any of your 10th and 11th grade students, aware of our Stratasys scholarships. So students do this. They self-nominate, and there's an online essay, and they can choose from 4 different categories. and we will announce these winners at our state championship. They do need to be a member of a Minnesota FTC team, so they can't be outside of Minnesota. But each winner is awarded a $250 scholarship. Yes, we always need volunteers. So we've got if anybody's thinking about being a judge, it's a great way to give back, but also to kind of learn about the process. And we have our final FTC judge training coming up on Wednesday evening. It's a virtual training, so you can do it comfort of your living room. But we are always looking for people, if you know of parents who might be interested in doing it, or you have friends or children or alumni from your teams from past years who are now, into their college years. Depending on what year of college they're in, they can volunteer in different roles. Judging is kind of the final one. That one, we ask that they be at least a junior in college and 3 years away from, having been on a team. So, but you can contact me for more information, or you can check out our Get Involved tab on our website for more information on how to do that. All right, for those of you that have been a coach for a lot of years, there were a lot of changes that happened this year. And if you were not able to attend our general coach call that we had back in late September that went through, kind of highlighted a lot of those changes, we do have a video of that. And there's also the slide deck link that's available on our website. But I did put the YouTube link here on this so that you can check that out if you want. It's just a great way to kind of double check that you haven't missed something, because kind of the rule this year is if you think you know, you might not. So reading that competition manual over and over and keeping up with the team updates that are coming out every 2 weeks. So last Thursday, there was another update that was dropped, is really important. Things have slowed down a little bit, but there have been a lot of changes that have occurred since kickoff. So please keep up with those. Just a reminder that the competition manual this year takes priority. It is the final word in the rules, not like in past years, the Q&A has become the final word for changes as the season went on. This year, it is the competition manual that has the final word. All right, so thank you. I'll take any other questions. Cheryl, you want to?
Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. There's a couple questions in the chat. Nithia's got one about the 42-inch dimension, whether it's a physical limitation or it could be controlled by software. So
It
maybe that's
can
the
be
first one.
either. It can either be a physical limitation, or you can control it by software. That has been clarified with some of the recent updates.
Okay. And then Paul asked if a coach can nominate a team member that's related to them. Does it have to be a non-related?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And that has come up. If there's another mentor that is not related to them, it is better if they do the nomination. The parent can contribute in things, but it is preferred if it is a non-parent.
Okay. And then Jay asked if 6 teams were advancing each day of Prior Lake or 6 teams for the weekend.
Each day of Prior Lake, there'll be 6 teams advancing.
All right. And I think if anybody else has a question, they can just unmute, or you can type it in the chat. Yep. Or if I missed something in the chat too, please feel free to ask again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In the coaches meeting, something new this year, and I have a hard time with new the older I get. So please bear with me. Something about like stall current on motors and having to bring documentation for that.
Yeah, so that only applies to the servos. So if you're using a servo that is not on the official list, and that list has been updated, so make sure you're looking at the most recent list. But if it is not officially on that list, then you do need to be able to prove to the inspectors that it does meet the specifications that are listed in the competition manual. But that only applies to the servos. For motors, it has to be on that list.
In general, are all the Go Builder servos on the list?
Nope, I would double check because each of the manufacturers does produce, like if they list it as an FTC one specifically, I would hope that they're matching the specifications and it's on the list. But a lot of those manufacturers are also providing servos for FRC, and FRC has different rules. So make sure that you just double check the part numbers.
And where's the list?
The list is in the competition manual. This year, the competition manual did a really nice job of making a chart. It's much easier to read than in the past. So there's a chart for each type of part, and it lists the manufacturer and then it lists the part number. And then sometimes it lists other notes or specification information in the chart as well. But that competition manual, I would keep that close at hand to review that list before you order anything additional or to double check what you have that you're using from off your shelves. All right, anything else?
I think I'll add one thing that if you're competing on Saturday, we are having a First Lego League Challenge tournament, a First Lego League Explore, and there's also a First Robotics competition going on in the gym. So if you have visitors meeting you there, you might want to be very specific where you'll be, because people come in and say, "I'm looking for the robotics tournament," and there's 4 things going on that day. All great fun though. On Sunday, it's only FTC, so you'll have no problem finding
Yeah.
We'll just tell them to ask you, Cheryl.
it.
If they can find her.
It's a great place to hide that day. You'll never find me.
One other thing I'll add that I forgot to mention during when I was talking about inspection, it'll really help your team if they review the inspection checklists. Now, normally those have been in an appendix in the back of the game manuals. This year, I think they have them linked now in the competition manual if you look at it electronically, but you can also find them under the first volunteer resources. They're just called inspection checklists. We also have them linked under this year's game stuff on our website. So if you go to Into the Deep on our website, you can get quick access to the competition manual. You can get quick access to all the different team updates that have come for the manual, and you can get at the inspection checklists and as well as some of the videos. There's been some really good videos that have come out that help clarify some things. So, for example, recently there was a video that came out, a little animation specifically about the horizontal expansion limits. And it really might help your students to watch that if you haven't already seen it, uh, and get an idea of what it's going to look like when they lay that robot on a mat and the limitations and all of the details with that. Because I know for teams, that's one of the biggest things that's really new and different this year, and it has been the source of the most questions on the first Q&A forum have related to that. So they came out with a nice little animation. Right? Anything else? Great. Well, we're super excited that tournaments are starting soon. It gets kind of quiet around here in the summer months, and so we're really excited to see the teams competing and what they've built with the robots. I've gotten to see a few robots already with leagues and some of the teams that have done some fall outreach for us, and it's pretty cool looking. So I'm excited. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.